Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the BIMvoice podcast. My name is Petru, and today's guest is the Director of Change Agents AAC, founder of the BIM Excellence Initiative, and head editor of BIM Dictionary. Welcome, Bilal Succar.
Thank you, Petru, for the invitation.
It's so nice to have you here. Uh, let's start by telling us a little bit about yourself with your own words.
Okay. Well, I am. I don't know how to describe what I do. I studied different things. Started studying business. Didn't like it. It didn't like me as well. And then studied interior design and fine arts. I graduated as an interior designer, back in 1994, and then started my master's in architecture management. Shifted to a PhD in performance improvement and through BIM, etc. So it's a bit of a mix. I've worked in art. I've worked in as a designer. I've worked, have our own business, Change Agents, which is a consultancy focusing currently on performance assessment and improvement. I always wear two hats at least, so the business hat and the not-for-profit hat, and there is a simple reason for that. They are complementary. There's certain things you cannot do except through business. Okay, there's certain activities you can only perform efficiently through a business. Other than generating revenue, of course. And when you're doing something as not for profit, also you are tapping into a different stream of thought, a different type of people you work with, as well. If you can do these two together, lots of things can be covered.
Yeah, that sounds like a very good mesh. Are you the only, do you have more employees in change agents? Or
it changes from time to time, but most of the time I work on my own. But when there is a project beyond my own capacity, I would have subcontractors. I would do joint ventures on specific projects. Currently, I only have a couple of people working with me, and they are developers, because like software developers, because we're developing a specific solution for a client. But it changes from time to time, and that's the beauty of working on your own as well. I have that flexibility, and
yeah,
I've been working like this since 2004.
yeah, it's been a while. Since when have you been exposed to BIM?
The first time I got exposed to it probably was in 2002, 2003. And this is, I was just reading research from Salford University, one of the really important universities in the UK. And back then it was the university in digital transformation. And I was reading like a research paper called ND modeling, something of that sort. And so what's that, and I became really, really curious. And I read it many times and put notes, and I don't know, I was just hooked. And then I've written like a small white paper and published it online with my friends. And somebody said, you write like a researcher, why don't you do research? And that was it. That was the start of it. So I started my research back in 2004. At the same time, I started my own business, and it's been, complementary ever since.
I understand. It's been a while, soon 20 years.
Yeah, soon 20 years. So it shows my age. So I've been in this since the early days of what we today call BIM. But of course, the concepts covered by BIM are much older. There's no use really going through the history. I know many people are tempted to go back in history, but from back then till now, it's been cycles of the same discussions repeating themselves, and there's a common undercurrent. I'm happy to discuss this with you later on.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting with BIM, and that's why it's also confusing and not easy to catch up. Like, it's evolving all the time.
Evolving and repeating. It's not just evolving. Sometimes it also stays still, and then people change terms, confuse people with the illusion of change or illusion of progress. But if you look down or look into it deeper, you will see that same concepts, new label, new use by date, and it repeats. So certain things are definitely changing, certain things are still the same. And this is what keeps people confused.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think the ideology, the concepts are always the same, but the tools are evolving and changing all the time, and this is difficult to stay always in loop with. Maybe.
I wouldn't say just the tools. The tools actually are a reflection of what's needed. There is a kind of relationship between technology, the processes people use, and of course the political environment, the strategies, the insurance claims, all these things. And this is covered really one of my earliest frameworks, or this relationship, and this relationship is two ways. So you always have people trying to sell you tools that you don't think you need. Okay, so they convince you, to use them, try to help you, of course, to help their bottom line, but also to help you to improve your productivity. But at the other side as well, there's a pull. So there's a push from one side and there's a pull from another, saying, I want to do this better. I'm going to search for tools that help me. And this push and pull is very important in dynamics for industry. And you can see from the latest news that about what happened, for example, with some companies criticizing a major software company, when you see this imbalance happen. When there's so much pull from industry and not enough push from technology, which is really a weird place to be in, you find there's imbalance. Things don't work. There's always needed to be some kind of balance between this push and pull between different players.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this imbalance have been for many years, but nobody dared to challenge the status quo, if I can say that.
Yeah, individuals typically think not too much about their own individual ability, and this is really a problem. When someone, and you hear this a lot from especially young people, and even from people who've been in the business for a long time, they just underestimate the ability of a single individual to make change. And that's why they don't make wave. They just they put brakes on their own ambitions, put brake on their own thoughts, because of the fear that even if they say something or do something, it won't change anything. And that's really one of our self-actualizing prophecies. If you think you're not going to be able to achieve something, you won't achieve it. If you put yourself in the opposite mindset, it will achieve something. And we'll see from this episode between the architectural companies and the software giant if change will happen. And my money, I'm not a betting man, but my money that things will change because they said something and they should have said it a long time ago.
Yeah, that is so true. Like, we are holding us back so much. Like, you have no idea how long I've been thinking to start this podcast, and how many times I said, why? I'm not the right person. I don't speak good enough English. I don't know anything. But I just ignored everything else because I thought, like, the purpose of this is much more important. Like, if everybody says this, nobody will do it, and nobody
Exactly.
will. This is the only way you can break something and to elevate the level, like to become a resource for people that don't have other resources, to do
Absolutely.
something in this.
Absolutely. It's a good intention, meaning and just commitment, hard work, the right intention, and something good will come out of it. And it doesn't matter how small it starts. If it's persistent, it grows. And you'll see. After 5 years, I'll say, oh, I knew Petru when he had a video cast, and now look at how famous he is. I'm so lucky to have had a video cast with him.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope I don't get famous. I just want to help myself and help others. So this is my
That's
sole
great.
purpose here. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to make yourself vulnerable in front of others. This is the biggest challenge we face with ourselves. Like, we think
True.
about all these things, but yeah, you must do it. Like, if 1 in 10 people or 100 people will do it, would help a lot. So that's why it's really important to just try to break the ice, no matter if you don't have enough trust in yourself.
Yeah, and actually trust is cumulative. You just need small wins at the beginning, correct? And it builds. And even if there's small failures, it's one needs to continue to try. And the only thing that will keep people, continue to try if the purpose is noble, is like it's gonna help others and have benefit. Of course, people can continue trying for financial gain as well. So that's another driver for many people. But you need a strong driver. If there's a strong driver, all these small steps, whether they are small successes or even small failures, will eventually lead you on the direction you want to go.
Yeah. The least it can happen, you will grow a lot as a person. Like you will learn a lot from this and you will grow. You will grow much stronger. This at least what happens with me.
But it's not about just you and me, correct? It's about trying to help others grow. And I think once we go beyond, of course, you have to first think of oneself, correct? I want to grow. I want to flourish. I want to improve.
Yeah.
But then what? Unless this transforms into I want others to grow, I want others to flourish, I want others to be seen, to be known, then it becomes something. Then become beyond the personal endeavor.
Yeah, of course. I don't think you can genuinely help someone if you cannot help yourself. So growing yourself
Absolutely.
and trying to help others, like we grow, like for me at least, I grow most when I do something for someone without getting paid for it. When I do a nice gesture or something, that is the most accomplishing thing. Like I feel best when that happens. So yeah, we get to a personal development podcast now. So let's get back to BIM a little bit.
It's the same. It's the same. It's no. If you change any topic, okay, whether it is digital transformation, whether it's cooking, whether it is you name it, okay, it's the same drivers, the same personal traits. In one of the frameworks, these are called core competencies. Okay, behavioral aspects that we need to understand. So even if you want to motivate someone to adopt BIM or digital transformation tools and processes, one needs to understand these drivers. You can't, and this is part of the work I do in competency assessment. So unless we understand these drivers, it's not going to work. You can put as many good tools in front of someone, as many good processes, protocols, etc. Unless you can tap into these core foundational drivers of humans, we're dealing with humans, change and adoption won't happen. So they're related. They are not like a different topic.
Yeah. Okay. That's good and nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is BIM? And please close that tab with BIM Dictionary. We talk about BIM Dictionary afterwards. What is your definition of BIM? What is BIM to you?
Yep. It is any collection of technologies, processes, and protocols to improve design, construction, and operation of assets across their life cycle. So you can throw anything at it, okay, and still sticks. And that's intentionally a very broad definition of BIM because the label is not important. What is important is what's common between these labels, whether it's BIM or you could apply even if you want GIS and PLM and all these other acronyms and VDC and digital twin and whatever terms people like to use nowadays. It is about the same thing, about how to work collaboratively, use the right tools, optimize your processes, develop and use protocols, etc., in order to improve the built environment.
Yeah, that's well on point. What is BIM Dictionary?
It is an approach to first. It has multiple levels. Okay, so people see probably one or two levels, but it has multiple levels. The first thing is to provide a glossary of common terms or terms that people commonly use. Okay, so this doesn't mean that the term itself is not a formal term. So, for example, there are now terms that are part of international standards, but because they're commonly used, we include them. Okay. There are common terms not within standards, but they come from research. We also include them. So it's a first point to start learning about BIM. And again, BIM as in a general topic I just mentioned. So that's, if you want, the first level of the dictionary. Come in, learn about this topic from an authoritative, as much as we could, well researched and interconnected platform. Start your journey of learning there, okay, and then hopefully you could go deeper, and then we'll go to the next level of the dictionary, okay. Now, so that's the first level, the glossary. The second level is, and this is what, if any of your listeners or viewers have seen our presentation, is about taking it to making it a knowledge base, okay, and that's a very big difference. You remember the days of the encyclopedia? I don't know if you had an encyclopedia at home or, whatever. Nowadays, this encyclopedic approach to knowledge has, to a degree, disappeared. Like you used to feel, if you want to learn something and it is, you want to have confidence in it, you used to go and open Encyclopedia Britannica or Americana or Collier, or whatever it is, you used to have, you open it and you don't question it too much. Okay, it's there. So many peers, so many experts, have reviewed it, and you read it and you take it as a fact, okay, or at least as a really very close to the fact. Currently, on our digital world, we don't have that. Okay, now there's so many sources and resources, and it makes a simple topic complex. So you want to reduce this complexity by trying as much as possible to bring back this encyclopedic approach by providing an online, of course, it's digital, it's interconnected, but as much as we can, simplified entries to complex topics that it is authoritative, it is dependable, it is reliable, it is research-based. Doesn't mean we don't make mistakes, but of course we do. But this is the aim of the second level, going to a knowledge base. Okay. I can go more. If third level is, it's a base. It's our common modular language. If in our initiative, we have lots of projects, and each project will focus on different things. We have macro adoption, about policies. We have one for learning, one for performance improvement within companies, one for integrated information. We need to connect them. And only when having a dictionary, a glossary, a reference, which all projects rely on equally, can we connect these projects together. If there's no dictionary, if there's no glossary, if there's no this bedrock foundation of knowledge, these projects will be separate, will go their own way, and will not benefit each other. So I can go on, but that's the three main reasons why we have the dictionary.
Yeah, it definitely can. If you don't have a bedrock, like you said, like it's confusing. It's confusing, and it will cause always just discussions.
Mm-hmm.
What is BIM Excellence Initiative?
Yeah, it is, again, a trial. It's an approach. It is a commitment. It is passion. It is, you can call it whatever you want. Trying to do something good in our built environment through the connected effort of people who think the same way or very similar way. Okay, so trying to bring people who have the same passion, but they are specialists. They're not just have the same. It's not enough to have passion. Okay, it's really good to have passion, and that's really the first ingredient. But you have to be a specialist, and you know what you're saying. Okay, you don't have to be the top specialist. You have to be a specialist. Okay, and we have to have a common mission. Bring these three together. Okay, and add a couple of more ingredients we can discuss. You have a community that has a common goal, a common mission, a common vision, a common set of projects, a common set of protocols to deliver something for the built environment. Now, the initiative, you could describe it in many ways. You could describe it as a community. You could describe it as a knowledge engine, because it feeds on knowledge and produces knowledge. You can call it also a network of like-minded people and associations. As you'll see, as we grow, we're not only connecting people, we're connecting also associations. We already have these connections in some of these projects, but not across all projects. But in the purest sense of it, it is a horizontal effort to change the industry or to improve the digitalization of the industry through the collective efforts of individuals and groups.
Okay, this sounds so complex. When did you started this? When did you found this?
It is complex in a sense that it is not an elevator pitch, okay? But it is a natural progression of someone's individual effort. Like meaning, like you start now a video cast, you succeed, correct? The next step for you is, okay, who's going to help me with this? Who's going to help me source the materials? Who's going to be preparing the interviews? Who's going to do the editing? Who's going to do, the working on social media, etc. So even if you're only focusing on a single medium and a single topic, if you want to progress anything, you have to move from an individual effort to either a team effort, like a formal team, or a group effort. So the initiative started like a individual effort. But if you want to have more effect, on your own, you can do only so much. Okay, you can do good stuff, but you cannot multiply them. Okay, so the initiative is a multiplicative. Yeah, it tries to multiply the efforts of people. When you put 1 + 1 + 1, doesn't make them 3, it makes them 5. When you put 1 + 10, it doesn't make them 11, it makes them 20 and 30. So the effort here is to try to multiply the passion and effort of people working together so they can change the industry in their own way.
Yeah, this when I said complex, I was thinking like having this in your mind, on your mind, only you as a person. I guess like the first iteration of this was simpler, and maybe you just grew afterwards, right?
Actually, the opposite.
The opposite.
It is opposite. It started with complex. Like, okay, this is a complex problem. How can we improve the industry? Okay, because someone said, "Oh, I want to improve the industry." Say, "Okay, what do you mean?" There's so many things to change, correct? And you start thinking, okay, I want to produce learning materials, and I want to produce software, and I want to produce video casts and podcasts and books and whatever. And the idea itself becomes like very big, and say, how can I change the industry without doing all this? So you start with this big idea and say, okay, what is the essence of all this? If I want to do this, all of this, how can I achieve it with minimum effort in a solid, in a way? And you start looking at what's common between all these things you want to do. Okay, and in our case, you find that knowledge is the essence. Of course, that's like a general statement, but you can all of them connect them through a skeleton. If you can reduce all this complexity and make it's like 6 projects rather than 100 projects. If you can make it a couple of models and frameworks rather than being 10 frameworks, then it becomes manageable. So it started with this big, huge, impossible to do, to now to becoming reasonable to understand with maybe 3-4 hours, of discussion. And over a couple of years, if you give it another couple of years, it will be easy to understand with maybe a day, half a day, 3 hours, 2 hours, maybe then becomes half a minute in order to explain what it is.
Yeah, of course. Like it was more complex because it was difficult to articulate it and try different things. But when you get more people to help, then you get the chance to, from different perspective, you get more clarity. Like, yeah, this is something palpable. This can be a project. We can do that, right?
I'll give you an example, just so that to exemplify this notion of from complexity comes simplicity. Is we never published the mission or the vision of the initiative, but after these 3 sessions, the mission, the vision, all these things, we had the principles, of course, became clearer. Okay, because you see how people are interacting with each other, and you find the right words to describe what they're doing. And after these, our first excellence seminar, which just happened at the end of July, now we have a new page on the initiative website saying mission. which wasn't there because it was implicit. Now it became explicit. Now something called vision there. Okay, and now the vision and the mission and the goals and the purposes are all connected. And that's a simplification process based on starting with something ambiguous.
Yeah, that's by the way the mission. What is this mission and why do you have it out there? It's for people to adhere to, right?
A mission is like, so people say, what are you all about? And this is difficult for people because people understand what ISO is doing. You know, they understand what Building Smart is doing to a degree. Okay, they understand what these, institutions are doing, but many people don't understand what the initiative is about. And this our public seminar was our first, public discussion to tell people, this is what we're all about. Our mission is to improve the digital transformation, accelerate the digital transformation of the construction industry or the built environment. Okay, that's our mission. But many people could have the same mission. Like there's two companies have a mission to go to Mars, correct?
Yeah.
But they may have very different vision. Why are going to Mars? Some of them want to mine, get the minerals. Other wants to build a colony, etc. So the mission is clear. We want to accelerate digital transformation, but our vision, okay, is different from others. Okay,
Yeah.
so we are like others in our mission, but we are very different in our vision. Our vision is to demonstrate different or new ways of thinking about this problem, different and new ways of learning, of researching. Okay, and you will see this as we go. We will demonstrate through our collective efforts that we can think about these complex problems that we all face in a new way. Okay, we will do research in a new way. We will do peer review in a new way. We will publish our results in a new way. Okay, we will do everything we could in order to resolve complex problems in a fresh way. That's our vision.
Yeah, that sounds very noble and it's very much needed for our industry. So yeah, that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, well, it's again, it's an attempt. Okay, we don't know if we're going to succeed. It doesn't matter. It's the value is in attempting, correct? And by putting your mission and vision and principles online and you make them public, what happens? First, people know what you're all about. Either they like it or they don't like it. But the people who like it will contact you. They will say, "I like what you said. I like where you're going. I want to be part of this. I want to improve this. I can do it better. I can help you make it better." So that's a success. And since so every time we do something public, you have many offers of help from people that other than putting yourself out there, you wouldn't have found them. You wouldn't have known that there's people that think in a way that wows you. That you look at, oh my God, I didn't know these people exist. I didn't know that there's this solution or this type of thinking out there. And you can only find them when you put yourself out and they see you. They out themselves for you. They tell you also their own thoughts and their own way of thinking.
Yeah, of course, because we make a image of a person after what they do, right? So if you don't do much and I only see you working at your computer, I will just know that you work at your computer, right? But if you involved in other things, I'll know, yeah, that guy is doing that as well. That is something I'm interested in as well. Maybe I can help somehow. So yeah,
Correct.
that's a brilliant way to approach it.
Yeah, and there's so much talent out there, much more talent than we need to change the industry. The problem is we don't know where they are, okay? And there's no way of making their efforts connected, okay? So this is one reason for the community. You want to connect these talents, and you want to put their efforts to good use, okay? And you want to make them multiply. When you put two talented people, each talented in their own way, and make them work together, I can assure you that new ways of thinking will appear.
Yeah, amazing things will happen, definitely. And nobody, not everybody needs to be the icebreaker, the starter. But there are people that need to see someone doing it. Like many people saw you doing this and say, yeah, I would not have started that, but I would definitely try and try to help Bilal in doing this. I should shoot him a message and ask him, can I help you somehow or something?
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens, and that's exactly what has been happening ever since this thing started. And they come to you, and not just me, to everyone, who have do something similar. They come to you and says, "Have you thought about this solution?" Okay, and this happened like 2 weeks ago. They're trying to fix a problem with the process engineering that we're doing, and we still haven't really solved it 100%. And then someone contacts you and says, "Have you thought about this way of um, connecting processes? I never heard of this way before. Never heard. This is something I try to understand. I never heard of this." And because of this discussion, following you exposing yourself, saying this is the problem we're facing, this is how we're trying to resolve it, and it's not being resolved.
Yeah.
And they come to you and say, "Have you thought about this solution?" And you look at it and say, "Oh my God, this is amazing. This will help us." So the more you expose what you do, and the more you expose what you don't know how to do, the more people will come to you and offer their assistance and their expertise.
Yeah. Not many people are comfortable to let the other know what they don't know. This is a very big challenge as well. So
Yes, a personal challenge.
props to you that you you overcome that.
Yeah, but it's something that you train yourself to do. Of course, and this is typically the message for young researchers. Don't worry too much about doing your mistakes, etc. Okay, you have to put yourself out there. You have to expose how you think in order to attract criticism, to attract improvement suggestions. Just imagine if we're all afraid of criticism or review. If you're afraid of somebody reviewing your work and telling you what you've done wrong, nobody would publish a paper. Nobody will. Nobody will share anything. So you have to open yourself to criticism, and that's why we encourage everyone to think like a researcher, and the researcher need to understand that their work is true or correct, but it could be proven wrong. Okay, but it also could be wrong and could be improved, so it becomes correct and true.
Yeah, this is really amazing things unraveling here. So yeah, I'm really glad to witness this. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot. When you like to be motivated to 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 start moving towards this direction, like to found something of this magnitude, you need to have some big pains. Like you see some really big problems in our industry that you have become frustrated with. What are the challenges? What is happening in our industry? Why did it was necessary to do something regarding this?
Yeah, the frustrating thing is not there are big problems. It's always going to be big problems. This is not the issue. The problem, the main frustration is that people don't learn from solutions. So you'll find lots of these problems. Somebody found a solution, and then someone else don't know about that solution. They repeat the same mistake. Nobody learns. The frustration is, again, it's not about having a problem at all. The frustration is, why aren't we learning from mistakes? And this is the typical thing that when people compare the construction industry or the built environment, real estate industry with other industries like aerospace, is that one major thing, other than the supply chain issue, is that they learn from every mistake. Every mistake, which is a catastrophe, it makes the next plane, the next car better. Okay, and they share that knowledge. That knowledge is shared across the industry so that nobody does this mistake again. We don't have that in our industry.
Yeah, but then you have the problem, like the lack of cooperation.
Yeah, lack of cooperation, lack of knowledge sharing, I call it. I don't care about cooperation. I care about knowledge sharing. You could knowledge share. You could, if people share their knowledge, and in an open way,
Yeah.
and let others learn from their mistakes and from their lessons, they don't need to cooperate. Just share, make it open, make what you do available to others, You don't have to teach them. You don't have to cooperate with them. You don't have to talk to them. Just make it available to them to learn on their own, and you will do good.
That mindset, it's so remote. At least it has been so remote in our industry because, yeah, it's like nobody wants to do that. They just want to grow themselves.
Yep, and some, there's multiple reasons for that. Some psychological issues which we're not expert in. People are about afraid of stating, what they think, fearing that others would not accept it. There's commercial interests, locked behind copyright, walls and et cetera, et cetera. And there's the, disintegration of our supply chain. There is our adversarial contractual environment. There's so many issues, but we should not focus on these. These are not helpful to focus on. What we need to think, okay, what is the thing that we can all focus on and we can all improve without necessarily changing all these difficult things? We cannot change the contracts. We cannot change the insurance, the way insurance is handled in our industry. What we can change is making knowledge more accessible, making it more understandable, and building communities that learn from each other. That's what we can change. So we should really focus on what we can change.
What kind of, can you give some examples of some kind of things or material companies could share?
Yeah, anything that you see in the initiative, BIMexcellence.org. We have have multiple projects, and we the way we share things are either as like a downloadable resource, like a list of things, and I'll explain what these are. A decision support template, like a matrix, like you can read on your own and say, okay, this is where we are at the company, and this is, if we want to improve, we need to do these steps. So this is like a self-help for performance. Online tools like the dictionary, so you can search for knowledge, but soon you will search also for software tools and see what they do compared to specific information users, etc. So the type of resources we do is we provide building blocks for people to build their own knowledge. So we don't give them ready to eat food. Okay, it's not like I want a pizza. Come get pizza, knowledge pizza from the initiative. We don't have that. What we have is the ingredients, like a good ingredients for you to do your own pizza. Okay, so you want to build an assessment tool, you want to build a learning program. The initiative will help you, provide you with building blocks for you to build a training program. But we're not going to give you one. You have to build it yourself. But we're going to give you the ingredients.
Yeah.
It's like if you think of someone building a house. Okay, there's different tools to build a house. The drill and I don't know what, all these machines. Okay, but all of them need capacitors. All of them may need batteries. All of them need certain types of motors. We want to be the community that produces these common ingredients, okay, for people to build their own tools, to build their own houses.
Yeah, you want people to learn how to fish, not to give them the fish. There
Absolutely.
is this quote, right? Learn a man to fish, and he will have something to eat for the rest of his life.
Absolutely, that's a great analogy, and yes, very similar to what you just mentioned. And this is this is why it makes it a little bit difficult for some people at the start. It's no longer the case to understand what we're trying to do. You say, give me a training program. Can I download a training program for my company or for my university or whatever? Say, no, you can't.
You need to put in the effort.
You have to put in the, you have to build it your own. We could provide guides or templates, like for you to help you to do that, but that's it. I'm not going to give you something ready made for you. Okay, and even if we did, it will be just as a template. Say, like I can give you an example. We have a project called we have a project called Project F, which is Integrated Information Project. One of its micro projects is called F2 Model Use Template. Model Use Template is all about generating a template for people to use or to change to improve their processes. So we'll have one, if you go to crash detection on the BIM dictionary, you'll find there's a template. Like what are the steps, like major activities you have to complete. The way you provide it, we say this is the minimum needed activities you need. Okay, so this is like, if you want to think about clash detection, these are the activities you need to know. But if you click on it, it will open up as a copy for you. Okay, you can change it for your own company, for your own type of project. So provide you with a template which would work on, like, let's say, majority of projects, but it's a template for you to change, and we encourage you to change it, and that's the whole purpose behind it.
Yeah, but it's providing a good starting point.
Yes, only a starting point.
Yeah, no, but that's good, because most of the time I think it's very difficult to start. If you have that starting point, you can build onto, right?
Yes, it's a yeah, it's about starting points. And once you give someone a starting point, you never know what comes out of it. They could do something much better than if you gave them the full thing. This is my problem with standardization in general. They give you the this is the truth, This is they call it a standard, or they say as if it's a guide, but it's done in a way as if it's a finished thing. If you have to abide by the standard, by the letter of the standard, it's a finished product. Everything is named, everything is connected, everything, it's already pre-cooked for you. That's not helpful. It could be helpful for a small percentage of situations, but what about the 99% of situations which do not look like what you've just written? What do you do with these? Yeah, and we should always embed variability in the work we do. Like, you cannot say this is the only way to work. That's wrong. The way, no matter how perfect it is, okay, it's wrong. It's just plain wrong, because things change faster than what you can change in your template. Okay, and we are all one community across the world. Okay, we have very similar problems, but their localization is different. Okay, when you try to do the same project in two different countries, one in Norway, one in Romania, and one here in Australia, if you want to build exactly the same house, it's not going to be the same.
Do we have any other challenges than transparency?
Well, I don't think it's issue of transparency. Again,
Or sharing. I'm sorry, the sharing willingness.
people are willing to share. This is not a problem. It's just there's no medium for sharing. There's no incentive for sharing. Okay, the people who share individually. People who write blogs, they may write free books. But there's no common thread connecting them.
No central database or something.
Nothing is feeding out of I'm not saying that everyone needs to think the same way or need to be like integrated. No, this is impossible. But we need to encourage, to create a kind of thinking that sharing is really gold. Okay. One of the ideas which we never actualized in the initiative is to create something like a new metric called KSI, or key sharing index. Okay. Yeah. One day maybe we should do it. Like, instead of KPIs, we look at how much knowledge does a company shares, or an institution shares. Okay. And sharing means open, not for fee, and it's not copyrighted. That's what really sharing.
Open source.
Sharing. Yeah, it doesn't have to be open source. It has to be open access. Meaning there's a bit different. It's open. It should be open. Okay.
Yeah.
Meaning, if we rated companies, and it was like, if somebody adopted a metric like this, saying this company you want to work with has a very low key sharing index. They don't share anything. And anything they generate as an innovation, they keep it for themselves. Okay. This other company has a really great, key sharing index. They are good community players. They are good environmental players. They are good society, society members. Okay. We want to encourage sharing. Okay. And the way you encourage sharing is by taking the first step. You share, and then you expect people to share. You can't go and ask people, why don't you share your knowledge? Say, why should I share my knowledge? It's my knowledge. So, okay, you make an effort. This may work, may not work, but you share knowledge, and share more, and keep sharing until others see the value of sharing and start sharing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to do it. Look what we're up against. We're up against people who have lots of knowledge and have copyrighted it. Okay,
Yeah.
even if it's public good, it's
Yeah.
public good, and they still lock it behind copyright, copyrighted materials, or you have to pay for it. How is it logical? So how can we improve as an industry if everything we learn, or whether it's an innovation or a small technique or a practice, and we keep it to ourselves and we lock it? If this happens in the aerospace industry, when how many planes would fall out of the sky because what Airbus learned didn't share with Boeing or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, or even IT industry, right? Like the open source community. Like,
Yeah, look at beautiful. I mean, look at the open source communities in software engineering. Amazing. How many open software tools we use nowadays or we benefit from. Okay, but when it comes to knowledge sharing, there's no mechanisms, there's no incentives, and there's no examples of good knowledge sharing, at least in our industry. We're not saying we're able to change that overnight. It's just we have to give a good example.
yeah. Are there other key points we should focus on aside of sharing? Are there other things we should get better at?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the research is really undervalued in our community. People don't look on trying to understand the strengths and weaknesses of knowledge generated in academia versus what's generated in practice. They don't understand how complementary these are. I mean, currently they operate as if they're very different worlds. This is academic and this is industry. This is what we do at practice, and these people are living in their ivory towers doing whatever. And in many cases, it's true. So we have to find a way, and there is ways to bridge that, to make the interaction between academia, research, like the professional academic, people who are focusing on, they do research for a living, let's say, and people who are in practice. And the only way, one way is we can do that is by changing our language a bit to start with and mixing them together very nicely. Okay, and this is what we do in the initiative. All of us are researchers, whether we come from academia or we come from industry. Why? Because we apply very specific methods in delivering and developing and sharing knowledge, and with lots of rigor behind what we do.
That's good. Let's talk a little bit about the projects of BIM Excellence.
Mm-hmm. Yep. What do you want to know?
Tell me what are all these letters? Project A, B, C, D.
Yep. So we have 6 projects, top level projects. So these, we don't intend to make them 7 at the moment. There's no reason for it. And the first one is the dictionary, which is the foundations. The second one is the knowledge organization and sharing. And this is, if it's the one that connects the knowledge of all projects, but they have their own. Why it's a project? Because they need specific skills, like people who generate something called ontologies, okay, and taxonomies and lists, and they have very different skills for people who I don't know, develop software, let's say, okay. And so that project is all about knowledge generation and sharing. And so, for example, seminars are part of Project B. This is the knowledge, the blogs, if we write books, etc. Now, the third one, Project C, is about competency and learning. We haven't launched that yet, but it's about a new way of thinking about competency assessment, competency-based learning. We haven't launched it, so we can't really discuss it too much. Project D also not launched, but it's about improving performance within a company. So what are the specific steps that a company can take? How can it assess itself, improve its own performance? We have a couple of resources for that, like capability maturity assessment, etc. Project E and F are launched. So project E is about macro adoption. So we try to understand what policymakers across the world are doing. What are the policies they're generating? What are the roadmaps? How they are incentivizing digital transformation? Meaning, some countries, for example, spend money on training. Some countries spend money on incentivizing software purchases or hardware. So
Yeah.
try to capture what they're doing and also to put it back to the industry, saying these are when we deliver our report, these are the best actions a policymaker can take in order to encourage digital transformation. Okay, this is one of the deliverables of this project. And the last project, which is about integrated information, we're trying to find a way to bypass our this integrated supply chain. In construction,
Limited supply chain. Yeah.
it's disintegrated. Like every project has a different supply chain, and there is no connection of the information flow between them. So this project is has a framework as well, trying to say, okay, how can we think about information flow across industry in a new way? And based on that, we want to help people to develop online platforms that they can use from the start of the project till across the whole life cycle of an asset. So our job here is to enable the development of online platforms for information management. This is for that project. Now these 6 projects they look different, may even feel different, but they're not. They are interconnected together, not just through the dictionary, not just because the knowledge structure is the same, not just because they all have a learning component, not because they're all intended to improve the performance of organizations and individuals. Everything in the initiative is interconnected, but we have these projects separated like that because each project will need different talents to execute it successfully.
Yeah. This definitely requires a lot of efforts and resources.
No,
No?
no, no, no. It's not about. I don't think.
Time. I mean time.
Yes, look, it needs passion. Okay, it needs passion, needs effort, consistent effort. Okay, yeah, but everything worth doing is the same, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
There's not. Unless it's worth doing, really, we should not do it. And it's worth doing, and it will take effort, and will take lots of people. And we need to organize these people to work together, correct? And we need to deliver. But it is doing some good, hopefully, and we'll see. Whether we succeed in our mission and we demonstrate our vision. We'll see. But it's the journey on its own is enjoyable. So
I think as long as you will continue doing this, you already succeeded from my point of view. Like the ice is broken now.
yeah, it's a small initiative trying to encourage people to do other initiatives. And as we grow, we want to connect with other people who are doing the same thing or better, and try to work with them and try to find common ways of multiplying our efforts. Okay, so it is not like you do something and you expect results tomorrow.
No.
No, anything worth planning, it should take years of hard work. I don't believe in quick solutions for the industry. What's a quick solution for the industry? There's no quick solution. There are only hard work, persistent work, interconnected work, work based on research, work with passionate people over a long period of time in order to make change.
Yeah. If we discuss a little bit about the project regarding assessing the different levels around the world, do you have? Did I understood correctly? Do you have a document like can be shared regarding the status around the world?
No, we don't. I don't think we're going to produce one that is permanent. We probably will produce one which is just a snapshot, because these things change. They change very quickly, even within a single country. What would the better value, a proposition, a better way of doing things is not to focus on just taking pictures. Okay, so we have to take pictures. What does this country is doing? What the other country is doing? Are they improving? Not they improving? And we've done this work since 2005. Okay, it has certain value, but it has very short, what's called shelf life. Just gets rotten really quickly, becomes not tasty at all after a couple of years. A better value proposition would be to understand what are the actions taken by different policymakers which succeeded.
Yeah, that work.
Yeah, so some countries did a mandate that says you have to do it or we're not going to work with you. Others spent money on training, others on provide, incentives through the tax system, others focused on education, others were led by an association, others were led by government, etc. All these different, tens of metrics or indices or indicators. Once we understand the formula for not assured success, but for improvement, we want to share that formula. We want to say your best chance of encouraging your industry, whether it's in Norway or Australia or Romania or Sweden, whatever, the best formula forward would be to have some kind of combination of these approaches, which and this is our data to prove it.
I understand. But when you share this, you need to have someone that is receptive to this, that wants to listen to this, that doesn't think that, yeah, I don't
Where does this
want to
come
listen.
from, Petru? There's many people who listen. That doesn't matter if they tell you they're listening. Okay, it's not like we searching for people who say, "Oh, I'm listening to you and I believe what you said." These people are either they're lying to you, okay, or they haven't understood you. Okay, this is not the people you're going to be searching for. You're searching for people who don't tell you that they're listening to you. Okay, they listen at what you're saying. They take what you offered, they implement it, and they may never tell you that they've implemented it. Okay, we don't care. It's either you want to help people to improve, or you want people to tell you help me to improve. Okay, it's nice if people tell you, because that's great, but that's not the intention. The intention is to provide something, some tool, some resource for people to improve, even if they don't tell you or they appear as if they're not listening. And trust me, based on what we know, many people listen, they don't tell you what they listen, and then you learn after a while that they have been adopting this recommendation here and there. And that's really the effect you want. You want people to own it, deploy it, improve. Doesn't matter if they tell you if they did.
Yeah, that sounds good. But I was mostly thinking about there are definitely countries where BIM is not a hot topic. There are countries around the world where people don't think about BIM.
Yep.
This is my concern. And when I say people, if you have companies that are not concerned about this, the legislators, the government is even more less educated regarding this, right? So how do you make this working?
You have two options. Either you have to focus on people who tell you I'm not going to listen, and you're sure you're not going to listen, or you focus your energy on people who said or show you or appear to they're going to listen and they're going to benefit from what you do. Look, you can never influence everyone, and you shouldn't try even. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
One should focus on the people who want and will benefit from any assistance they get in order to improve their personal or their companies or their markets performance. If there is, and this is true anywhere here in Australia, and there are companies and individuals who will never improve what they do, never ever. Okay, it's just they're averse to change. We should not focus on these people. Okay, it's just a waste of energy, waste of
Yeah.
time. We should focus on people who are willing to change but need a starting point. Okay,
Yeah.
help these. Okay, help these. They will become leaders and others will follow them.
Exactly. And the resources will be there for the other more stubborn ones as well, if they want to take that.
Doesn't matter if everyone listens or not. This is not, the world is big. We are in the biggest industry in the world. Okay. Eventually, anything of benefit you say or do, someone will benefit from. Okay. You may not see them. Okay. But they're there.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah. Don't expect results. Yeah. It's just one should not expect to see success. I mean, one would like to see it, but one should work because the work is good on its own.
Yeah. Do you have any indexes or any, can you share any information regarding this? Do you have any countries that you think could be good examples for the other ones? Or it's wrong to think about countries?
It is not wrong, it's just not accurate. A country is not some small thing, correct? A country is made of companies, of regions, of disciplines, of geography, of geopolitics. So really comparing countries is a fool's game. Really, it's not useful at all. Comparing a same country over 10 years is not useful even. It's not useful. We could compare specific things. Okay, like we say, let's compare the digitalization of the hospitality sector in your city with the hospitality sector in my city. Okay, that's useful. Okay, if we want to learn from each other. So you compare it, find that in your city you do it better. Say, what are they doing better? We learn, the things that can be learned. But generically to say Finland and Norway are better from Netherlands and Germany, better in what? Okay, what are you measuring? And when did you do this measurement? And what's the shelf life of that measurement? We should look at success and try to understand its ingredients. Look at these ingredients, collate them, and give them to someone else.
Yeah, I think when we think like countries, we think more like entities, like the wholesome aspect, right? How the government or the state agency work together with companies, and how the entire supply chain is working together. Maybe from this point of view, because this differs, right?
Yeah, that's good.
From country
That's a
to
good
country.
aspect. Yeah, you say, for example, this metric is beautiful. Like you said, the extent of cross-departmental or across different players collaboration to generate a guide or to generate a roadmap. We could measure that. Okay, we could say, look at their roadmap when the government works with the private sector. You look at it and you compare it with the roadmap done only by government or only by the private sector. This is comparable. And you can see, like in this one, there's more coverage. Here, it's more specialized, etc. So we could describe them. So when we compare them in a way that is research-driven, like have this kind of reliability, kind of rigor in your comparisons, then we can get benefits out of them. But to say this country is better than country in adoption, say, what are you talking about? And this is a common mistake. We want to be like that country. Why do you want to be like that country? First, you don't have their history. You don't have their infrastructure. You don't have their legal framework. You don't have anything similar to them. Why do you want to copy them?
Yeah, that's true. When you put it this way, there is a thing coming to my mind right away. For example, like from a very practical point of view, like not using drawings anymore. Like I see this a trend in Norway. I see there are more and more projects where there are not used drawings anymore. People are working only with the 3D model, and this how would you see that? Wouldn't that be something like, yeah, like if you do that would help you, like we'll get all, like that means that you as stakeholders, different stakeholders, you work better, or and you work more effectively? Or
we cannot compare things like that as well. We have to compare them against what is the expected use. Like meaning, you can tell me if, and this is really behind one of the resources in the initiative. We have something called information use, model use, data use, document use. Okay, so you have to define first the purpose of what you're delivering. What are you delivering it? Okay, then you go to information use, say, I want cost estimation for this house. Okay, I want cost estimation at early, design phase, and I want another cost estimation, just before construction, and etc. Okay, if you can do it better and faster by hand, you should do it by hand. Okay, if you can do it better and faster through a 3D model, do it by 3D model. If you can use some kind of fancy other solutions which doesn't include any modeling or any documentation, it's done by an autonomous robot, for example, do it. the general idea is we should not focus too much on the tool or the medium. We should focus on the outcome. We should be outcome based. Okay, and whatever we do to get to that outcome more accurately, more repetitively, in a way that reduces carbon footprint, etc., we should do it. This approach saying, oh, everything should be modeled, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Okay, yeah, because sometimes modeling is the least efficient way of doing something. Some things could be done just through data transfer without 3D models.
Yeah. But no, I'm just thinking like, what is the current state? Like now we based everything on drawings, right? This is how we work everywhere. Like you are required drawings and documentation for everything, to get any permit, for insurance, for everything, right? So I'm thinking only regarding what is the next step, more efficient step from our status right now.
Historically, like if you want to look at like big projects who have implemented digital flows and digitalization, if you want approaches, there's a typical kind of curve you see. Okay, we could say it holds true, but we're not sure. We don't have the data. But typically, you go from a 2D based flow, like based on drawings, and then as you digitally mature, you start using models, and you get 2D drawings out of models, and you do simulation and cost estimation, etc. out of models. I'm discussing like a reasonable sized, buildings or facilities. And then over time, the percentage of modeling versus data exchange drops. So it starts with drawings, goes with modeling goes up, and then modeling drops, and then there's data exchanges more, but the documents stay the same. So there's kind of a trend, if you wish, depending on your digital maturity and whether we're discussing an integrated supply chain, etc. You will see these trends on how the percentage of information exchange by different representation types. So percentage as document, percentage as models, percentage as just data sets.
Yeah, I think before we get to this data flow between everything, because there you need mostly robots to do the work. I think as long as you will have people mostly involved in this, we need the 3D representation. Would be the most intuitive way to see and understand how we do things. Like to go purely to data. How if you work only with people, how do you make that understandable?
Yeah, there's certain things that people need to understand and parse. So and this is really actually an argument against what you said. If we are trying to simplify for people for the sake of people only, rather than for efficiency, then we are losing efficiency. Meaning, if something can be done with data only without models, let's do it. If things need people to parse and to simulate, and then we have to model for them. But this modeling for them is a modeling for them. It is a lack of efficiency. Okay, so sometimes modeling is an efficient approach, and sometimes when you mature as a process, okay, it's a lack of efficiency when you continuously model when something you can do without modeling. There's nothing absolute. Okay, there's nothing that say we have to all model everything. Not true.
That's
Okay?
interesting, and it's new. It's a new perspective. But like you said, like I'm still thinking about this. We still don't have the means to execute just using the data. So yeah, not entirely at least.
Not entirely, and we shouldn't think of a process like it's a huge process. Okay, we every process has sub processes, and every activity has sub activities and tasks and etc. And this is part of the maturity process, process maturity, not just technological maturity. As we go forward with that, we'll be able to separate things that could be optimized without models, okay, and separate things that can only be optimized through models, okay,
Yeah.
and the things that work beautifully through 2D documentation and should stay in 2D documentation, we'll be able to isolate them. The lack of maturity makes us jumble all these things together and think of it as a linear way. Like we have to go from 2D documents to models, and then after people reach Venus and live on Venus and how, then we can go to that. No, it's not the case. We could separate certain things for different types of information flow.
Yeah, maybe this is a little bit more natural for people to understand, to view it this way. I don't think there are many people seeing the things how you see it, like thinking or mostly on the biggest value, like going straight forward, burn the era you live in, like this struggle. Because I see this happening. Everybody tries this, to ditch drawings, to go this, but people, they just think to the closest the next closest objective, right? They don't think like to burn 10 steps and go straight in the future, for many reasons. There is no competency for that, there are not budgets for that, and yeah, many others, right?
And people also don't, not also people, I mean, some people don't think of the end result. They are too focused on the next step rather than, and this is based on our education, to be honest, meaning most of us have been educated in typical schools. We have a tendency to think that there's a proper way of doing things, okay, and there's this, we have to follow procedures and stand in line and sit in a certain way and ask in a certain way, rather than look at the end objective and try to find what is the best way, the most optimal way to reach that objective. So these things are beyond our digital transformation. It is more about our human behaviors. You see, if we went full circle, we started with behaviors, we're back to behaviors. Okay, we need to when we're discussing digital transformation, we need, at least this is what encourage people to do, to think of outputs and outcomes they're trying to achieve, and the next step to look at the process to achieve them, and the next step would be the technologies and tools needed for that process.
I think until we get educated to have this mindset, is going to be very difficult to do it from a job perspective, from a job role. It's you won't do it. You just need to finish your tasks. You have tasks, right? You don't have time to think and apply it in your project. I think.
Well, some people do have time,
Yeah.
and some people make time, and some people do incremental improvements. This is not about changing everything one does like in a disruptive way. This doesn't work. Okay.
Yeah.
It's very rare to have something disruptive happens and changes the industry. This is like, you need a very traumatic, something really big. It's our better approach would be for incremental improvement. Okay. Continuously improving our definition of our processes, allowing people to redefine them, okay? Help people to manage these processes in a better way through education and through tools like for manage information, and then slowly integrate these processes and optimize them. So there is a better way, which says if we cannot change everything, we should change something.
Yeah.
And we do it in small steps, and every day and every week and every month we improve small things. And how do you do it? You can only do it when you know what your current process is. You know what you're doing. Like you map what you're doing. You say, this is how I currently do my work. And you know what kind of output you want in the future. And then you modify your current process slowly, step by step. You change an activity here, you change a tool here, you remove a step here, you add a step there, whatever, until you improve your process to reach your goal. It's incremental.
Yeah, it's incremental if you know what you should go about. Like what you told me, it's new. I just found out now. I did not have this this thought. I was not thinking this way. I was thinking just to the next action, next logical step, right? So I never heard this to anybody else. So how do you get more of this?
You do video casts like you did. So it's exactly what you're doing, correct? You are trying to discuss new ways of thinking, or at least common practices, best practices in some cases, different thoughts, different people making their thoughts exposed to others. Others would listen. They disagree. They agree. They could have other thoughts, but at least you are contributing to change, correct? By sharing knowledge.
I hope so. Yeah, I think like don't you have any mastermind group in your in this initiative where when you have some meetings just or some people you talk just about rambling about this kind of crazy
Yes, of course.
possibilities?
Doesn't have to be inside the community, but of course inside the community you have lots of great minds. But sometimes you could get a good thought by discussing this with any idea with anyone, correct? It just and look, this is a more general thought, okay? You may agree, may disagree, but you cannot discuss everything with everyone. This is the same true for anyone. But the certain things you discuss with certain person or people, and the other things you discuss with other persons and people. Now, the trick is to identify which topics suit this discussion with that person, what this person could add value to you, and what topic. Meaning you have to identify this push and pull between you and other people. So if you're in a community, the push and pull is typically the bigger the community, the less depth you could go into, because you have to keep it at a general level. In small groups, and this is also one of the things why we have tens, if not hundreds in the future of micro projects. So we subdivide our projects into, the moment it grows, it subdivides into something called micro projects and then work packages. The moment a work package has 2 people, it becomes a micro project. It's like an organic way. There's many reasons for this, but one of the reasons is you cannot go into depth, even in a big community, if you are working as a big community. It may sound contradictory.
No.
Yeah, okay. So you have to keep that granularity. You have to go big, because your cumulative action can only be multiplicative if you are a certain size and more.
Yeah.
But you can only go to specific depth. So if you want quantity versus depth, if you keep your mechanisms of interaction, of discussion, of investigation in a small component size, which allow you to move quickly and deeply.
Yeah, more concise. Okay? Yeah, it would be very difficult because the bigger it is, it would be more difficult to manage it because of the noise. It's just going to be unmanageable.
Yeah, you know the story about if you want people to organize chairs in a room, like have 20 chairs. If you ask one person, it could take them 5 minutes. You ask 2 people, it becomes 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes. But the more you add people, there's a point where the efficiency drops. Correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Same with anything. Same with the community work. There's a certain point. We don't know what it is for specific projects. Okay, it's just more trial and error, where we reach that saturation point where you subdivide. Okay, and you need to have that as a plus. You have to consider it a plus. You have to work as if it's a plus. You have to target it in your structures to allow it to happen, rather than, because if you don't, you will grow to become a big thing with chapter here and chapter there, and a senior CEO and sub-senior. I don't know what it is. You lose this dynamism. And this is true for knowledge as well. Certain topics of knowledge can only be explored at depth between 2 people, 3 people maximum, maybe. Okay. Yep. Yeah, depending on the topic, correct? And for certain topics, you need a workshop or a focus group.
Yeah.
For certain topics that need multiple minds, work together, and each of them have their own specialty, could put 8 people, 10 people. Okay. But if you grow it more than that, then you are not really searching for new knowledge. You are really searching for a common motivation. You are trying to instigate action. You have a different dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. How many people are involved with the BIM Excellence Initiative?
Yeah, we have currently, I don't know, it's
132?
between 130 and 130, 140, because we had a few people join us in the past couple of weeks, which weren't counted in our official number, but they have different hats. So most of them would work in the dictionary because that's our foundational project. So, but they will have another hat in a different project. So there's lots of overlaps, and this is intentional as well. And this is part of one of the projects of how to keep these projects interconnected. One of the techniques used is to put the same person on at least 2 projects, even if small micro projects, to keep this meshing. We call it meshing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So now when we say we're going to grow, we're not going to grow to become 20,000. That's useless for the current vision mission we follow. It's more about going to 160, maybe 200. Okay, but only we do that when there is a reason for that subdivision. When there is a skill that we don't have, like video casting, correct? Or or like we need a system analyst for some kind of project. Then great. Or we need a community coordinator, or we need someone to help us to get sponsors. Okay.
Yeah.
So then that growth is out of justification. You don't want to just grow because you want your community to be 1,000 people. What's the benefit of that?
Yeah, you want to use these resources, like everybody's efforts to do something.
I wouldn't say use. I would say provide the right connection between people, because every person comes. If there's no connecting point to other people, then this person, he or she, will be preventing others from moving forward.
Yeah.
Correct? Because this is what we discussed about the example of adding more people than what the task needs. So that's why our growth is measured, and we only open up vacancies. So we as if you're a company, we recruit people.
I see. Now, when I said used, there was no negative connotation. Just
I'm just saying. I'm just to be try to be as try to be correct or accurate in the use of
political
these.
correct. Yeah.
No, I don't like political correctness. It's just it's not that we, of course, we all use each other, but the idea here is more about proper connection. If you think of the community as a node and link mesh, it's like a net,
Yeah.
Every knot is connected to multiple knots,
nodes.
but it's a 3D. It's 3D. Yeah. And you don't want to introduce new knots unless their connections are clear, and that each one benefits the other, rather than making their life making their productivity lower, let's say.
Yeah, I understand. So you are saying that if somebody wants to get involved, how can somebody contribute if there are no positions? Is there any way other people can contribute to this?
Yeah, they have to reach out, okay, and they have to find a fit. Meaning, and this is one of the things in the community, the more it grows, the harder it's going to be to bring in more people in. Okay, we want to grow at this, and we are growing. We have a common knowledge, okay, and we have a number of projects. Our growth is dependent on subdividing the projects into micro projects where it's needed. So when the project is subdivided into micro projects, there's a need to bring people to work on that micro project. Okay, so that's a growth opportunity. So that's if you want a natural way to grow. Another one is we have specific things we're trying to achieve from a knowledge perspective, and when we find a gap, we will advertise it. Okay, so there's two ways. Either a project leader say, I cannot do it on my own, I need help. Okay, and then we ask this project leader, what kind of help you need? Say, okay, I need this type of help. Can you source it from your community? No, I cannot source from your community. Okay, let's go and get them. Because there's so many people out there that are keen to help. Another one is we really couldn't find them through our network, like our network. We will advertise it, and you will see this on September 15th when we open up our next cycle. We have cycles of recruitment. We say we are looking for this specific set of competencies. If you find yourself able to do it, please apply. Okay, and it will be vetted, and then interview and all these other things that any company would do. But we do it for a community. Why? Because again, we don't care about being big. We want to attract talent. We want to make sure that the next resource we produce is better than the resource we produced before. So there is an openness to the recruitment based on competence. It's not open in a sense that whoever wants to join can just pay a fee and come in. It's not going to be the case.
But that is valid for the mission, right? Who feels that has aligns his vision with the mission can join there, and that can be like a amount of people
I
or
tell you
a
what
meter?
happens is typically these two ways. There's a third way, okay, which I didn't mention. Okay, typically someone would say, like, and this typically happens, he or she would say, I heard what you said there, or I've seen this presentation, or I've read this resource, and I think I can make it better, or I can bring this. You haven't advertised, but I can bring this to the community, and they reach out. So that means they, and this is the idea of confidence as well, correct?
Yeah.
They reach out and say, I'm offering these, my time, my effort, my expertise to you, to the community, to improve your deliverables for common good. Okay, that's the third way. That's the best way, and that's why going public in these ideas, whether through the seminar or webinars or videocasts or podcasts, etc., exposes them to others. They will hear it and they will say, okay, there's something there. I want to make it better. And they reach out. And to be honest, many of the people we have reached out.
Okay.
They came in this way.
Or if it's not there, or if it's something that you are not doing and it might help, like to give this
Or do
idea.
it better. Like you're doing
Yeah.
this in the dictionary, and I can do it. If you can improve it this way, I can help you in the ontology, in the semantic here. I can help you connect with people. I can help you connect with universities, etc. So we try to make this explicit as much as possible, so people don't have to guess.
Yeah.
But people who guess and at least try and say, what about we do this, and something that we haven't even thought of, that's amazing. Because it adds more than what you thought, because you could think of what you miss, but if you don't know what you're missing, you don't even know.
Exactly. Yeah. This is the most important.
Yeah. So when people see it and say, these people miss this, they don't know about it. And this is this thing I mentioned about the process modeling. Someone reached out and said, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And a huge benefit.
Yeah, indeed. And there was a saying, no door will open if you don't knock on it, So
Absolutely. Unless it's automated, of course, but yeah.
Who is BIM Excellence Initiative for? What kind of people, what kind of
You tell me.
titles, no, not me. Who?
Okay, take a guess.
Okay, there are civil engineers or engineers working in the construction industry, right? But I mean, are there any groups that can benefit more about, or doesn't matter the roles, the positions?
It's not for engineers, it's not for architects, it's not for operators, it's not for facility managers, it's not for project managers, it's not for any of these. It is what we call them change agents. Okay. It could be any of these, any of them before. Okay, it's you are someone who are trying to change not yourself, but you have to change the surrounding, these agents. Okay, these are the disruptive factor in our industry. These are the people who would benefit from the materials. They are trying to improve their companies, their industries. Okay, because some of them are policymakers. They're like work in government, and the initiative is for them. We want to empower them. Okay, you could be a change agent if you're a student. You don't have to be a government minister. Doesn't matter. To us, the value as a recipient of the information or the knowledge you produce is by the amount of positive change you want to impart upon the environment, your environment.
Yeah, that makes sense. That sounds very, very good.
And by the way, there's a model for it. And this is published, but we never, one of the papers, and this is maybe like a treasure hunt for people to find it. Like this type of people is defined of one of the published papers. It is, I'm just gonna call it number 10. And if people know what I'm talking about, they will find it. And these are the change agents that sit in the middle of everyone. You could see them, you could not see them, but these are the people who connect everything.
Okay, the number 10 then.
Number 10.
To remember. Is this enough as a resource for someone that also wants to learn more? about BIM? Because
people who want to learn more, nothing is enough for them. You can never learn enough, correct? That's any learner, any like a professional learner, let's say, any learner serious about learning will tell you that nothing is ever enough. Okay, as we discussed before, it's just a starting point. Just a starting. It's very simple starting point. It's a starting point, and then you go on your own. You continue your research. Hopefully, you come back and help us to grow. But it's just a starting point. It's not enough.
Yeah, I was thinking, like as a resource, if aside of this, you have any other resources online that people can use to learn, to become better at something in this.
Everything is about education. You will see in our resources, whether it is bimexcellence.org, the bimdictionary.com, the bimframework.info, the bimthinkspace.com, all the resources that you see connected to the initiative, the YouTube channel, the podcast we're going to be generating, the newsletter. So all this are different ways of sharing knowledge with different groups, okay? So it's never going to be enough, and we just want to share these starting points, these templates for people to build upon and to grow on their own. So that's what we're trying to demonstrate, that there is a way to instigate change by just spreading seeds.
Yeah. From this mind journey you have, or a wish list or wish state you want to achieve, or you hope for our industry to get to, how do you think, how long do you think is going to take until we get to a more decent level of cooperation, sharing, openness, and a more proactive way of working?
Why do you want all this?
I'm just curious. Are you optimistic about this, or you just?
Yeah, I'm always optimistic, but this is not not a goal.
It's not about this. Yeah, it's not.
No.
It's just
Why do you want? Well, it's not like it's things change or improve by people stopping being themselves. Like someone is greedy and now stops being greedy. And then someone is not collaborative now becomes collaborative. No, you have to remove that from the equation. You have to make it much more beneficial for people to share, much more useful for the individual to share than not share. Okay, you want to make the incentive natural for them. You don't want to change people's behavior. You can't. Okay, maybe you can a little bit, but that's not really a good approach. A better approach to make the incentive of sharing and improving the others of benefit to you, and then you will do it.
Yeah. I failed trying to think about some kind of metric, but not necessarily. I took the wrong reasons about this. But yeah, I guess the success magnitude of this is just going to be defined by the longevity of the initiative.
I would say replication. If people replicate this behavior, they do other initiatives better than ours, better resources than ours, and we, in one way, small way or a big way or whatever, have helped that happen, that would be the success. Okay, if people start just share, just help others. Okay, just do something small, big, whatever that you're passionate about, you're good at. Okay, change your environment a bit. That's success.
Yeah, that should be enough. That should be genuine.
Absolutely, that's enough. That's enough. If we all do something small, it will add up. Correct?
Yeah, it will compound as interest.
Yeah. Not everyone needs to create a community, or many people could do much better communities for sure. But it's more about the behavior and the output, which is intended to improve something other than oneself. Okay, and by that, improving oneself. Remember, you never do something for others without really improving yourself. Correct? Like you teach, while you teach, you're learning. The best way to to learn is to teach. It's the saying, it's just you perfect it because you explain it from.
You don't know it well enough, you cannot teach it to others.
Yeah, and you will not know it well enough until you teach it to others. There's two opposite sides of the same coin. Because if you teach something 10 times, every time you're looking at it from a different angle, different students ask you different questions, correct?
Exactly.
So as you're teaching, you're learning, correct? As you're sharing, you're gaining, correct?
I live by that rule. Yes, I completely agree.
Perfect.
How can someone get in touch with you if that is possible?
Yeah, absolutely. Meaning, me personally, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on every Twitter, just sometimes people get bored from my sharing on LinkedIn. So I'm open for all types of, people reach out, etc. But the initiative, there's BIMexcellence.org. We have Twitter account, we have an Instagram account, we're trying to be in different channels, and please connect with us, share what we do, offer your expertise, etc., etc. Okay, and help us to improve.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I think we could have easily talked 2, 3, 4 more hours.
Thank you, Petru.
It was really nice to have you here. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for the
sharing.
invitation.